Welcome to ICS Mahesh P.U. College, Dharwad. I am Muralidhar Hegde, lecturer in English. Dear friends, today let us discuss very interesting and a poem which is full of realistic experiences of a school child. Yes, I am speaking about The Schoolboy, written by William Blake. William Blake is not only a poet but a prominent painter. Was born in Soho. He had very little formal education, but his remarkable contribution in the field of art and poetry made him a prominent personality in the world. His finest work as an artist is the series Inventions to the Book of Job. His collections of poetry include poetical sketches, songs of innocence, marriage of heaven and hell, and songs of experience. The Schoolboy is a lyric from the Songs of Experience. In the poem Schoolboy, it is a poem by William Blake and published as a part of his poetry collections entitled Songs of Experience. The Schoolboy is a poem written in the pastoral tradition that focuses on the downsides of formal learning. It considers how going to school on a summer day drives all joy away. The boy in this poem is more interested in escaping his classroom than he is with trying his teacher is trying to teach. In lines 16 to 20, a child in a school is compared to a bird in a cage, meaning something that was born to be free and in nature is instead trapped inside and made to be obedient. In this poem, we can see the education as a source of enjoyment. The poem highlights Blake's affinity of alternative methods of education. He talks here about schoolroom education and how it causes students to contribute poor learning and retention for students. He promotes learning outside the classroom. Specifically, he believes spontaneous and natural creativity flourishes when the child is given an opportunity to learn outside the four walls of a classroom. The second theme of this poem is innocence. He presents innocence and the fragility of life here with the help of the image of the schoolboy. Nature is the next theme of this poem. The poem shows how the boy learns from nature and everything around him in a very delightful way. Summer morn, birds sing on every tree, distant huntsman wind his horn, etc. are the portrayals of the richness of the nature. We can remember the lines of Rabindranath Tagore here in his Tapovan. He says that nature is a teacher for every human being. It teaches us virtuous qualities like enoughness and mutual giving. The next theme here is the compulsion in formal education. The parents of the boy see importance in school and mandated the boy to be in a classroom setting than fool around with the dangling trees and chirping birds. Their control was so high that the schoolboy felt as if he was imprisoned. He could not perform his own wills. The poem begins with the stanza, I love to rise in the summer morn when the birds sing on every tree. The distant huntsman winds his horn and the skylark sings with me. Oh, what sweet company. The speaker in this poem is a young boy who is innocent and likes to awake in the fresh and delightful summer morning, which is enjoyable. Describing the beauty of the summer morning, the boy likes the chirping of the birds on every tree. Then the sound of horn blown by the hunter from a distant field alerts him, and he finds amazement in the sweet song of skylark, and he wishes that bird accompany him. Here, the boy is very active. and wanted to know something in the open space with the help of the nature and the richest contributions of the life and nature. In the second stanza, but to go to school on a summer morn, oh, it drives all joy away. Under a cruel eye outward, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. Here in the second stanza, the poet is complaining about the system. It is a matter of utmost disappointment for the little boy to attend the school in such a sweet summer morning where actually he wishes to enjoy the delight of summer. He is tired and even puzzled under the strict supervision of his teacher, and he falls the same as a cruelty towards him. The eyes of the teacher that actually tires the boy. It means the supervision of the teacher makes him to lose his joy and delight, and he spends his day in boredom and sadness. The boy feels very exhausted here because of the restrictions imposed by the school as a form of a teacher here. He is not free. He is not freely enjoying the learning process. That is what highlighted in this second stanza of the poem. In the next stanza, then at times I drooping sit and spend many anxious hours. Nor in my book can I take delight, nor sitting learning's bower, worn through with the dreary shower. Here in this stanza, the poet brings out the implicit feeling of a child who sits, who opens himself for the formal education system. The child expresses his emotional tiredness or the feeling of defeat sitting inside the classroom. He sits unwillingly in the ocean of boredom. The child keeps under the control and the attack of the harsh rules of discipline implemented by the teacher and unnecessary shower of learning words in the name of teaching. The learning's bower referred to a pleasant, shady place under a tree or climbing plants in a garden or wood, where the child can be taught in an interesting way only if nature accompanies him instead of the school teacher. But his all the expectations are not fulfilled here. It is completely in the contrasting way the schooling is coming and he is encountering everything which is not at all delightful for him. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? How can a child when fears annoy but droop his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? Dear friends, this stanza gives a very negative feedback from the poet toward the school, and it questions the system here. The poet compares the child with a bird which is born to fly cheerfully, can never sing a sweet songs if caged. Similarly, a child, if remained under the umbrella of annoying fear and tension, the disturb of his teacher can never allow him enjoy the natural instincts of joy and playfulness. The tender wings are nothing but the talent of a person portrayed him, which is restricted from its growth. Indeed, a world full of rigid courses of discipline will ruthlessly take away the beautiful springs of a person's life, he says. Here, the springs are compared or portrayed as the success of a person. If the child doesn't learn the skills of life with enjoyment, how can it can result as a flourishment of a success? That is the question the poet is asking in this part. O father and mother, if birds are nipped and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the spring day, by sorrow and care's dismay. The young boy questions the parents' action or attitude here with straight words. The complaints or he complains to the highest authority, to father and mother, by comparing the childhood to a blossoming bud and tender plant. According to him, if a budding flower and a tender plant is damaged in the initial stage, how can, how can they expect the spring? It is not possible. In the similar way, child is picked and swept in the early stage of life in an ocean of sorrow where there is no one to care for. If happiness crushes in the sensitive plant, beautiful and the newborn birds, spring can never be joyful or spring cannot be possible also. So it is impossible. In this stanza, the poet warns the parents and their actions. Of course, it is not only the expectation of the parents but of the society. We expect very disciplined and systematic way of learning. That is what the poet is arguing against. In the next para, how shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer's fruits appear? Or how shall we gather what griefs destroy? Or bless the mellowing year when the bloods of winter appear? In the last stanza, poet asks a serious question to the world that if the seeds of success are crushed or damaged in the name of the system and restriction, how can one expect a glorious future? If care and concern rule over the plants, flowers, birds, such a summer will be dry and will bear no fruit. The child inquires his parents as to how they can win back that pain or sadness has destroyed. Here, life is like a river which faces numerous obstacles, and those obstacles will destroy our happiness. But we must regain or re-earn the glory of life, what sadness or pain destroyed. But the ability will be swept away if the childhood is restricted in this systematic way of learning. If the plants perish or dry up due to the pain or sorrow, no fruit will be there in the season of autumn or mellowing year. If the development stage or the growth of a child is restricted, how can we expect the spring, which means the successful future of a human being? This implies that if childhood pleasures and joys are restricted, one has to be very sure that adult life will be absolutely dry and unproductive. So here, the poet is again, with so many questions, presenting the new idea, the realities of life, that life is nothing but enjoyment. And enjoyment is the path of success, he is telling you. Dear friends, we believe that school is a temple of learning. It's so true. If so, it must be peace and tranquility to everyone. But when the world started running behind the ranks and marks, the same school has been transformed into a laboratory of creating rank holders rather than human beings and the assets of the society. The poem of William Blake, indeed an eye-opener for the society. The poem teaches us that being parents, we shall take due care of our children. It is our duty to see that our children are happy, joyful, and free. If we want our future generations to be happy and prosperous, we need to make their childhood a happy one. In indirect words, childhood is a precious time. It is compared to the blossoming of birds. We have to nurture it. In the name of restrictions or discipline or ranks or any other basis, we should not curb the development of a child. So that William Blake appeals us to give the ample opportunity to bring out the best quality in a child. Education must be a character building. So that, dear friends, we have to believe that, or we have to think about that childhood is a place where the seeds of success for the future are nurtured. Our duty is nurturing, not restricting. Hope you have enjoyed. See you in the next video. Thank you so much.